Welcome to The Eye Opener. I'm your host, Michael Lewis. We're exploring a new format for our Friday shows. At the end of the week, we'll highlight the most important events of the past week. So if you missed any of our episodes, remember to always check in on our Friday program. We'll provide updates and more analysis on the most important events. Plus, we'll have interesting news we didn't get a chance to talk about during the week. Okay, my friends, let's take a closer look at this week's highlights together. While the country is moving forward to full recovery, the Biden administration is losing traction on getting everyone vaccinated. On Tuesday, Biden surprised everyone by suggesting a plan to go door to door to get more people vaccinated. Predictably, this decision immediately sparked an outcry in conservative communities. While critics are highly skeptical about the actual effectiveness of knocking on doors, the bigger question is, does this mean the government has access to every American's medical records? If it does, is it illegal for the government to access this data? Some lawyers and attorneys generals argue this would be a breach of privacy. On Thursday, Health and Human Services Secretary Xavier Becerra responded. Becerra first told CNN that because the administration has spent trillions of dollars protecting Americans from the pandemic, it's absolutely the government's business to push getting vaccinated. In a later tweet, Becerra said his comments to CNN had been widely taken out of context. He had to clarify that the government does not track who has been vaccinated and who hasn't, which was later confirmed by the White House. Press Secretary Jen Psaki said volunteers, not government agencies, will go knocking on doors in areas of low vaccination rates. But that seems pretty random. How effective would that be? And how do they know which areas have low vaccination rates? If you don't want to be harassed, there is a simple solution. You can post a no trespassing sign in a visible location. If vaccine outreach groups still come, you'll be able to charge them for being there against your will. If you're considering returning to work post-pandemic, have you thought about switching jobs? Signs suggest Americans are reevaluating their work and personal lives and aren't necessarily interested in going back to their old jobs. In June, employers added 850,000 jobs, well above the previous 3 months. Much of the hiring is in restaurants, bars, and hotels, which collectively took the brunt of the layoffs from the pandemic recession. As a result, restaurant traffic across the country is nearly back to pre-pandemic levels. The number of people flying each day is also up by 80%. While the economic outlook is getting better, there's still a ways to go for full recovery. The U.S. is 6.8 million jobs short of pre-pandemic levels. And pay attention to your bills. Inflation isn't going away anytime soon. Switching gears, Wells Fargo, the fourth largest bank in the country, announced it's no longer offering personal lines of credit. You'll get a notice 60 days before your account is closed. A representative for the bank says the decision was made last year to allow companies to focus on its credit card and personal loan services. Lines of credit are similar to credit cards, but have certain advantages. While both allow customers to access borrowed funds and require regular payment, lines of credit generally allow borrowers much larger amounts with a much lower interest rate. You can also withdraw cash from your lines of credit free of charge. Withdrawing cash from a credit card is extremely expensive due to high fees and interest. But lines of credit typically don't have reward systems. Personal lines of credit are often used for home renovations. They are a key product offered by most banks. About a year ago, Wells Fargo suspended applications for home equity lines of credit due to COVID. The bank also stopped offering car loans. Now, the decision to shut down its entire personal line of credit business raises serious questions about the bank's well-being. The representative also said the closure may affect your credit score. If you have a personal line of credit with Wells Fargo, it's time to find another solution to borrow money. In the stock market, Chinese regulatory probes of ride-hailing giant Didi dealt a blow to American investors this week. Do not put your money in U.S.-listed Chinese companies, ever. And here's why. In June, Didi made the second largest Chinese share offering on the New York Stock Exchange since Alibaba. The company is headquartered in Beijing with over 550 million users and 10 million drivers worldwide. Yes, its operations are enormous. During its IPO launch on June 30th, Didi swiftly raised $4.4 billion. However, before it went public, Didi was already under an antitrust investigation by Chinese authorities. On July 4th, the Cyberspace Administration of China shocked the company. It ordered app stores to remove Didi, citing firm collection and usage of personal information violations. Now, obviously, this is just an excuse. No Chinese tech company values data privacy. Personal privacy doesn't exist for the CCP. Everything is state-owned in China. The regime has been collecting all kinds of personal information with the help of tech companies to run the country for years. Nonetheless, Didi stopped registering new users and agreed to make changes to comply with the CCP's rules. Amid an intensifying regulatory storm at home, Didi shares tumbled 20% when the stock market reopened on Tuesday, wiping out $15 billion in market capitalization. The timing of Beijing's regulatory strike is critical. Didi said it had no idea what the Cyberspace Administration was planning before going public. The storm happening in Chinese internet technology is really about power and politics. The CCP is taking an explicit, hostile stance towards overseas tech listings. After stepping up regulatory scrutiny on Didi and two other tech companies listed in the US, Beijing said this week it was tightening rules of overseas listings. It's crystal clear that the CCP now sees the control and curbing tech firms' market and political power as much more important than helping them access capital, even if these companies have been big job creators in China. Despite President Trump's threatening to delist Chinese companies, it may eventually be Beijing that pulls the plug. Chief market strategist at Jones Trading, Michael O'Rourke, said, "The Chinese government's tactics appear to have the twin purpose of keeping its corporate leaders in check while also making sure the investor pain lands primarily in the US, more so than in China." However, things could be much more complicated than that. The Cyberspace Administration leads the push to oversee foreign listings. It reports to a group chaired by Xi Jinping. Taiwan and overseas Chinese media recently broke the story that some of Didi's shareholders have ties to the family of Jiang Zemin, the former CCP leader who stepped down in 2003. Don't ever think Beijing's political circle is peaceful. Within the Chinese Communist Party, there's ongoing intense power struggles between two major party wings, Xi's and Zheng's. The strike on Didi may have something to do with Xi's crackdown on the Zheng family's longtime power expansion through investment. Of course, as Americans, we don't want to be bothered by CCP politics, so just don't invest in Chinese companies. One of the biggest stories you shouldn't miss this week was former President Trump filing a milestone class action lawsuit against big tech, Facebook, Twitter, Google, and their CEOs. Trump said millions of people have been asking him to sue the tech giants over censorship and violation of First Amendment rights. Within just an hour of an announcement on the Wednesday, thousands of Americans asked to join the suit. Trump said he expects there to be hundreds of thousands joining soon. If you're a victim of big tech censorship and want to join the case, contact Trump's legal team.
And not just Democrat or Republican, but just to stand up for our First Amendment and protect these God-given rights.
And you're right, it really isn't a Republican thing or a Democrat thing, because one of the lawyers, as you heard today, explained that this can flip very easily. All of a sudden, right now the Democrats are totally in bed with big tech. All we want is total fairness. And the conservative voices, look, I'm the President of the United States, and I was taken off for a statement that was so mild and mundane. And you see Hamas is on, and you see that dictators are on, that the world, they want the world destroyed. And all these people are on, but they take off the President of the United States.
How can someone right now watching us get involved in this lawsuit and make a difference?
Well, they're going to read all about it. They're going to see exactly what we've done. It's a pretty big story, I guess. And they can join us in the lawsuit. They'll go through the law firm. It's very simple to do.
I want to take a quick second to ask all my friends watching and my live chat family to please take a moment to hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, but most importantly, share this video. I am depending on you, my friends, and the power of word of mouth to spread the truth. We cannot depend on YouTube to do this. Also, to support the Eye Opener team, please consider donating to the show or purchasing a mug that matters. You can find the link in the description below, and your support is greatly appreciated. Salute. On July 5th, Jeff Bezos officially stepped down as CEO of Amazon. This is huge for the giant, as Bezos was at the helm since the company's inception in 1994. Andy Jassy, who has run Amazon Web Services since 2003, became the new CEO. If you're a frequent customer on Amazon, you should know that the world's largest retailer is now a giant dumping ground for Chinese merchandise. About 50% of all global sellers are based in China, and 44% at the US site are Chinese, who store their products in Amazon's US warehouses. These Chinese goods are then shipped domestically and qualify for fast prime shipping, also dubbed the Fulfillment by Amazon program. This trend has been years in the making. The Made in China sold on Amazon motto is a critical business model for Chinese e-commerce merchants, and this model has the support of the CCP's top cabinet. Chinese Premier said in June that cross-border e-commerce is a key strategic initiative, and on July 1st, China's customs began implementing a new clearance system specifically to help Chinese merchants clear customs faster. But this is not obvious to consumers. Many aren't aware that they're purchasing directly from Chinese stores, as all seller markets their items on Amazon's local e-commerce sites. What's not transparent is the ethical concerns on some of the products sold on Amazon. At a June Senate hearing on the CCP's crackdown of Uyghurs and some Muslim minorities, Senator Marco Rubio accused many U.S. companies of profiting from the Chinese government's abuses. He said for far too long, companies like Nike, Apple, and Amazon were using forced labor. They were benefiting from forced labor or sourcing from suppliers that were suspected of using forced labor. Democrat Senator Ed Markey said a number of American tech companies had profited from the CCP's notorious surveillance industry. Many of their products are being used in Xinjiang right now. People throughout the world are customers of these tech giants. That's how they got to be giants. However, their deep reliance on the Chinese market has made us perhaps unknowingly complicit in the CCP's crimes. Moving on to election integrity and reform, Pennsylvania State Senator Doug Mastriano announced that he's triggered a forensic investigation of the 2020 and 2021 elections this week. The investigation will be bigger and deeper than any regular audit. It's like the one we saw in Arizona, but it'll be even deeper than that. A court battle between Pennsylvania Republicans and Democrats is expected, but the precedent of the Arizona audit has given people confidence. With a GOP-controlled state Senate, Mastriano said he's ready to request subpoena power to make counties comply. In Georgia, a federal judge refused to block the state's new election integrity law signed in March. The judge ruled the plaintiffs, a liberal group called Coalition for Good Governance, didn't provide any authority to support their alleged First Amendment harm. The court wasn't convinced by their argument. In addition, the judge said he wasn't disposed to making a last-minute change of the law when state house runoff elections are scheduled later this month. The court's decision marks the first time Georgia's new election law passed a legal test. The new law includes stricter voter ID requirements and expanded voter opportunities, which election administrators are already implementing. The ruling came days after the Supreme Court upheld new election integrity laws in Arizona, banning ballot harvesting and votes cast in wrong precincts. Georgia's new election law still has to face a challenge from the Department of Justice. On Thursday, the White House announced a $25 million expansion of the DNC's I Will Vote campaign, following a previous $20 million investment. According to the DNC, the financing occurred at the direction of the president and vice president. The Democrats' campaign counters Republicans' election integrity initiatives across the country. Allegedly, the money will be used for voter education, voter protection, and technology to make voting more accessible, with an explicit goal of shattering GOP's election reform measures. And ending on a positive note, we have good news on your Second Amendment rights. According to the latest update of sanctuarycounties.com, America has 1,930 counties protected by Second Amendment sanctuary legislation at either the state or county level. This represents 61% of the counties in the country. Texas was the 21st state to pass a constitutional carry bill. Governor Greg Abbott signed the measure to take effect on September 1st. While some state legislatures are not driving the effort, county officials choose to act on their own. Roughly 1,100 counties have passed sanctuary legislation, and hundreds of cities, townships, and boroughs have done so as well. The movement started from a grassroots effort amid the increasing call for gun control from the federal government. But the achievement was largely ignored by the media. If you want to stay informed on the latest news regarding the sanctuary movement and your Second Amendment rights, there's a new website, constitutionalsanctuaries.com, where you can check for daily updates. And that's it for today, my friends. Let me know how you like this new format. Also, you can join me on the Eye Opener Telegram chat room and follow me on Newmaker, Gab, Parler, and yes, Getter. I would like to thank you all. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time.